However, it wasn't the type of radiance that comes with popularity or new accomplishment. Something fresh, something deeper. The possibility that Bambi was pregnant quickly circulated, although not by tenacious. Every part, just as season 13 filming had underway, she was accompanied by an enigmatic guy. Secret meetings and quiet meals. Enemies grinned, friends muttered, and fans conjectured. The streets of Atlanta were bustling. Bambi really making a fresh start with a new person? Or was this simply another delusion of hip-hop and love? One secret that is on the verge of blowing up camera? Because every pulse has a headline in Atlanta where love is never kept secret. Atlanta's night was quiet, but the atmosphere was anything but calm. Love and hip-hop were back on, the lights were back on, and the cameras were back in place. Season 13 of Atlanta was officially underway. However, this season began with murmurs rather than with a party or reunion. Everyone's phone began vibrating with the same sound as soon as the packing their equipment. Message. Have you heard anything about Bambi? Nobody believed it. Bambi has experienced her fair share of heartache, particularly with Scrappy. The ebb and flow of love by treachery and celebrity. Their altercations had become into memes. Their words were no longer as loud as quiet. Bambi said she was done with drama at the conclusion of the previous season. She wanted health, tranquility, and a fresh start. However, the reality is, peace seldom Atlanta. Rashida received the message while going through fan comments while enjoying an iced coffee in her store. A snapshot of Bambi holding hands with a tall guy outside a posh restaurant in Buckhead had been emailed to her. It was an explosive caption. Bambi was seen with ATL's her new partner. New power couple? Rashida was undecided about whether to... Although she had always enjoyed Bambi, she was also aware of how the streets might turn a photo into poison. A dot Yandi heard too within hours. Leaned over to her at a charity function. With that girl, Bambi is out here with a whole different guy. That this time she's really gleaming. Shining. Shining with pregnancy, she repeated. Carly only shrugged, mischievous, but there's a storm coming for the camera. The gossip website next day shouted social media. Bambi is expecting TL, the mystery guy. Scrappy respondent romance. He's angry according to sources. Even though Bambi had not yet made her voice heard, her silence was more. Her laughter was a straight shot with a little grin and the caption, internet. The space for comments was about. Some supporters encouraged her, stating that she deserved contentment with Scrap. Others criticized her of moving on too hastily. One question that everyone was asking was hidden with, who is the new boyfriend? 2 days later, seen on video in a recording studio. More brilliant than ever and composed, yet her eyes revealed a deeper feeling that was a combination of liberation and terror. She gave a little grin when the producer inquired whether she was prepared to shoot. I've been ready, she said. Stated. A gentle R&B instrumental played in the background as Bambi sat in front of a vanity mirror, arranging her hair. She inhaled deeply and stared straight into the camera before speaking at last. People love to talk, she said quietly. When people are unaware of your narrative, they will say anything. But after experiencing enough suffering, her voice faltered, but it wasn't weakness. Stop caring what people think. You start living for yourself. It was made available. She had been carrying the burden of her marriage, the arguments in public, and the unrelenting criticism for years. She was standing alone for the first time now. Bambi, are you expecting? The producer inquired, leaning. She briefly turned her head away, grinned, and lightly touched her tummy with her fingers. There was silence in the room. I'm happy, she said at last. That's all. For now, I'll say I'm pleased. The footage quickly rose to the top of the episode's playback count. Supporters stopped the frame, enlarged, conjectured, and examined each word. Was it only a hint or a confirmation? The mystery only became more complex. Later that night, formal cast meeting of the season took place at a small gathering given by Jacques and Kendra. Even before Bambi came, the anxiety was high. Carly was whispering to Yandi. In an attempt to stay out of trouble, was browsing through her phone. Additionally, Scrappy wasn't even on came up despite the guest list. He entered with the same enthusiasm he usually had. The outside is cool, but the inside is chaotic. Everyone looked around. There was silence in the room. The producer muttered, "We're rolling. Where is she at?" as the camera panned in. Scrappy's voice was stern as he questioned, "Where is Bambi?" Nobody responded. Rashidita attempted to put him down. He interrupted her. "Scrap, maybe you should. She looks foolish on national television when she maxed me out here. I have a right to know whether she's pregnant or not." Suddenly, the drama was back in full force. After a few seconds, the door opened. Glistening under the studio lights, Bambi entered in a white-fitting dress. Her expression was serene but unwavering. Scrappy stopped. Years of agony hung in the air between the two of them as their eyes met without a word. When Carly said to herself, "Well, this just got real," the stillness ended. Everyone held their breath. The camera's zoom increased. Bambi stepped forward. Scrappy's jaw tightened. "Bam," he said softly. Bambi groaned, glanced around the room, and then looked him in the eyes. "Tell me it ain't true." "It's accurate," she said. It's also true that I'm done living for other people." She didn't turn away, but her voice broke slightly at the end. Tenacious shook his head, a mixture of sadness and rage shining in his eyes. "Are you really moving on in that manner? After all?" Bambi suppressed her tears. "Because I had to," she replied after. The room became quiet once again for me. The type of quiet that lingers, not the kind that ends abruptly. Rashida cast her gaze downward. Yandandi let out a sigh. With a head massage, Jock said, "Damn." Producers were aware that they had gold. Love and hip-hop lovers were clamoring for this type of emotional story. However, something about Bambi's composure seemed different. She wasn't battling. She just had freedom. Additionally, the music intensified as the cameras panned out, and Bambi turned away, putting her hand on her tummy once again. It was obvious. The 13th season has just started. Furthermore, Atlanta wasn't all set for what lay ahead. Atlanta woke up humming the next morning. Every YouTube channel, podcast, and blog was replaying the calm whispers of Bambi. "I'm content." Even though it was just, the supporters thought it was a confession. TikTok was inundated with screenshots. Started discussing the unknown guy behind her radiance after edits turned the moment into slow-motion heartbreaks. And at her kitchen counter and scrolled through comments until she... These people act like they've never seen a woman move on. Kirk, who was seated opposite her, arched an eyebrow. "You understand how babe they get. The drama is what they thrive on. When Bambi is trending, the ratings are going to soar." Rashidita gave a headshake. "Yes, but there are more than simply perspectives. Time. She seems happy and different. All I can hope for is that this new man is sincere with her." In the meanwhile, across town, Carly read in Yandi brunch location. Carly was eager to share what she had heard. "So I got tea," she said. "The guy's name is Marcus," she replied, dropping her voice without losing her enthusiasm. "He is a music producer from Los Angeles. They reportedly met months ago during a studio session. Before to the ultimate separation." Yandi's gaze expanded. "Tamar's co-worker from last summer, Marcus from Los Angeles." Carly smiled mischievously as she nodded. "That's the one. I warned you that Atlanta was going to quake, girl." Yandi stirred her coffee and sighed. "Bambi doesn't need additional sound. She needs assistance. Do you recall how difficult it was for her in the previous season? The internet abuse, the postpartum period, and Scrappy's mess. Internet users trash." Carly interrupted her. Yes, but people pay attention, in my favor. There wouldn't be a show without it." Yandi spoke in a harsher yet softer tone. "There is a distinction between a woman's actual existence and a spectacle." Carly. "This one also seems to be authentic. Bambi was again in front of the cameras that afternoon, but this time it was at her house. Quietly, almost politely, the team moved. When she spoke candidly about everything, "I don't have to explain myself," she said. "However, I also don't want everyone to believe that this occurred suddenly. I didn't just decide to move on one day." I sobbed. I recovered. I was forgiving. Then I let go at last. Her. Then I let go at last. Her voice wavered a little. "I can't continue to live in the same chapter of my tale, but Scrappy will always be a part of it." After pausing and glancing down at her hand, "Indeed, there is a new person. He's nice. He pays attention, and I feel noticed for the first time in a long time." Carefully, the producer inquired, and the pregnant Bambi gazed calmly and confidently into the camera. "It's accurate? I'm anticipating." There was no hesitancy. This time no tears, only a peace dot. Hours after the confession was made public, the internet went viral once again. Globally, Your Bamba Speaks was trending. Screenshots of her calm face went viral with descriptions like, "the globe we all needed," and "a woman reborn." Not everyone, however, was applauding. Scrappy also watched the footage, and his quiet was more telling. Although he hadn't since the altercation, breaking on the inside. Later that evening, he and Jock sat in the studio and let go of the burden he had been bearing. Scrappy stared at the floor and said, "Ain't mad she moving on? We've fought in battles together. That she's going on without me. Feel the same way?" Jock. Slowly nodding, the voice of uncomfortable reason always spoke. "That's how love ends sometimes." Quiet. Scrappy's eyes were hazy as he let out a long breath as the cameras stopped filming. "Even in the midst of mayhem, she was my calm. She has someone now. Someone else referring to her as Queen." The room was silent for an instant. The rhythm coming from the speakers was the only sound audible. Melancholic and gentle. "Perhaps you ought to speak with her." At last, Jock murmured, "Not on camera, just man to man." Scrappy nodded, but that kind of in Atlanta, conversations hardly ever left the camera. The next day, set up a fortuitous encounter at a modest midtown gathering. An opening celebration the presenter was rushing. Everyone was present, including Carly and Yandi, with anxiety, champagne, and laughter. The team prepared their cameras in the hopes that twice lightning struck, and it did. Halfway during the ceremony, Scrappy entered wearing all black, his gaze fixed on Bambi. She stood. She was laughing with Rashida next to the bar, wearing a delicate pink dress with her palm resting lightly on her tummy. He was struck by the sight like a tsunami. He paused, but he walked up to where the cameras were already rolling. "Bam," said softly. Startled yet calm, she turned. "Throw away." "I'm not here to start nothing," he said quietly. "All I needed to see was for you to hear it." Bambi gave him a kind glance. "You did it on camera before." He shook his head and remarked, "Before you tell me that pain, tell the whole time I attempted escalated into a... Aware of that?" His eyes gleamed as he breathed gently. "It's true then. Are you really moving on?" "Really?" Every eye was on them, even if the people surrounding them pretended not to notice. Carly even stopped mid-sip. "I'm pleased for..." "At last," Scrappy answered. "You," and his voice revealed that he was lying. "Thank you," she said in a whisper. The strain eased for a second. It hurt. Yes, two individuals who once believed something would continue forever, coming to terms with its conclusion. Rashida moved forward as Scrappy turned to go. She put an arm around Bambi. "You did good, girl." The camera captured the words. Bambi's face wasn't triumphant when the camera zoomed closer. It was a bittersweet experience. The who lost what she had hoped for, yet gained what she desired. She sat by herself on her balcony later that evening, flickered below. Marcus texted her and her phone buzzed. "Happy with you, sweetie. I can't wait to see you tomorrow." She put the phone down next to her and put both hands on her tummy, grinning gently. I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be for the first time in a long time. And as the music grew under her words, the screen became dark. The start of a romance Atlanta never anticipated. The hurricane subsided after many days. It was simply becoming stronger, if anything. But on the homepage of every entertainment blog, the supporters weren't only no longer viewing the program, seeing it firsthand. Questions, jealousy, and conjecture were reverberating across Atlanta's streets. Marcus was really who? Did he have what it took to be a stepfather? What was the duration of this? Additionally, the majority of above all, had Scrappy really left her life? Bambi said nothing. Just brief, straightforward Instagram captions. No interviews, tweets, or justifications. All things are at peace. The healing process is ongoing. I appreciate your affection. Every post received thousands of comments, millions of views, and her increased strength has led to the growth of fans. The hip-hop and love cameras continued to record in the meanwhile. For the first time in Bambi together, the producers were well-versed in their craft. Fans had been anticipating for this moment. When the episode began, Bambi entered a dimly lit lighted eatery. Her graceful, serene expression was captured on camera in the glass. Tall and sleek in a high-end blazer, Marcus rose from the table. His face was a mixture of serene assurance and adoration. He said, "You look beautiful." Him. Bambi gave a quiet grin. "You always true." They had an indisputable chemistry that required no words to convey. However, below the tension remained, despite the grins. Both of them were aware that the world was observing. Marcus started cautiously. "You're okay with how is everything unfolding? The noise, the blogs, and the spectacle?" Bambi looked aside and let out a breath. "There is a lot. Even though I knew it was coming, my life was once again the talk of the town. It's draining." Marcus extended his arm across the table and grabbed her hand. "You've persevered despite hardship. Nobody is owed your tranquility." Her eyes were blurry, and she gave a slight grin. "It's simple to say, but more difficult to live by, particularly if you have a similar history to mine." Marcus spoke softly but firmly as he leaned in. "I fell in love with you because of your history." Their hands held the camera, fingers entwined, confident, steady. The Globe realized that this wasn't only a comeback at that point. This really happened. Not everyone in the city, however, was grinning. Once again, Scrappy was in the studio. He was by himself this time, the microphone dangling before him like a mirror. It had been weeks since he had recorded something inside it tonight. He hit the rap. Not about a celebrity or wealth, but about her, about suffering, about losing what he believed to be forever. "I used to refer to her as my peace. She's my storm now. But she completed and changed. Said that love was... She has now been reincarnated. I suppose that when the queen goes on, a king is irrelevant." Halfway through, his voice broke, but he continued. The song was genuine, heartfelt, and unvarnished. Music masquerading as a confession. After finishing, he sat for a while with his eyes closed, allowing the stillness to engulf him. The next day, Jock visited his studio. "Dude, He shook his head and heard that track. "You can't pretend that Scrappy didn't glance up. That's anguish, dude. It's the only method I know to express what I can't express to her directly." "Then maybe you ought to," Jock said softly. Before the last minute, the production crew organized another cast get-together that night, this time at Yandi's charity event. The vibe was sparkling and everyone looked gorgeous, but tense. It was one of those evenings when secrets were concealed by smiles. Marcus accompanied Bambi, who came late. Her arrival, everybody in the room turned. As she entered, gripping his arm with a silent sense of pride, even the camera halted its pan. Yandi hurried over to meet her, all smiles yet with inquisitive eyes. "You seem much more radiant in person, girl." She made fun of it. Bambi chuckled. "I suppose I look fantastic when I'm happy." However, Scrappy entered as the audience was starting to unwind. Suddenly the music appeared to fade. His gaze shifted to Bambi and Marcus. The producers looked at each other. They sensed a situation developing. steadily, slowly, yet tensely. "Bam," he murmured, half smiling. "Touched by that. Is he really being brought into our world by you?" Bambi took a big breath. "Scrap, this is no longer your world. It's also mine." Marcus remained deferential but prepared. Scrappy gave a slow nod. "You're correct. I will say this once, however. Because ATL love isn't easy, I hope you understand what he's getting into." Marcus held out his hand. "I am not here to take anyone's position. I mean, I'm just here to adore her." After giving his hand a quick glance, Scrappy shook it. Not affectionately, but with deference. "Cool," he remarked. "Just keep it real." The tension subsided, but just a little. Yandi whispered to Carly as Scrappy left. "Did that really happen? Did we just see progress in ATL? Don't jinx it, girl. It's just episode 1. Inks it, girl. It's only episode 1. Carly grinned. Marcus and Bambi departed early later that evening. They were followed by the cameras to the parking lot, where it reflected the city lights. Marcus replied, "You handled that well," and he opened the vehicle door for her. Bambi gave a little grin. "I had too. My former self would have lost it." Her phone chimed as she sat in the vehicle. "But this me, she's different." Scrappy sent a text message. "Really, look for yourself." After a lengthy minute of reading the message, she responded, "You too." She then placed her phone down, inhaled deeply, and muttered to herself, "New season. New narrative." The vehicle sped off, disappearing into the Atlanta cityscape as the camera steadily panned out. The tune swollen, tender, sentimental, and strong. This was no ordinary occurrence. Everyone witnessing New Bambi's narrative had just started a whole new chapter in their lives. And it was a metamorphosis. Chapter. Weeks and what had begun as rumors had become into a major cultural event. In Atlanta, every podcast, blogger, and fan was discussing only one topic: Bambi's fresh start. She was no longer just another cast member after the pregnancy announcement. She would become a representation of a woman finding her peace in the face of the world that previously tore her apart, of progress, of survival. However, behind the scenes, things weren't as seamless as the editing seemed. Bambi felt the strain growing with each post and each headline. Reporters who had earlier applauded her were now clamoring for all the information. Marcus was who? Was Scrappy really no longer involved? Would she and Marcus survive together till the following season? Bambi sat by the window of her peaceful Atlanta house, browsing through her phone, the screen gleaming in the darkness. There were many messages. Congratulations, hatred, inquisitiveness, and outside counsel. Setting the phone aside, she placed a palm on her stomach and inhaled deeply. "I didn't desire notoriety," she muttered to herself. Marcus walked in with a kind face. "I just wanted to be loved, right? Are you all right?" Slowly, she nodded. "Yes." Just how quickly things changed. Kissed her hand while kneeling next to her. "You are worthy of positive improvements. You deserve them." Her eyes glistened, yet she smiled. "I'm still afraid of it. Being scrutinized, questioned, and contrasted with my former self." Marcus gave her hand a little squeeze before letting them go. "Characterize you. The lady they sneer about on the internet is not. They aspire to be." She shook her head gently. "You have something." "Because," he said, "I mean it. Cameras aren't your life. No more, Ambi. You live your life for yourself and the little pulse we will soon share." A tear trickled down her face as her grin became softer. "I never imagined that I would get here.